This is Shu Hirata's Let's Talk Japanese Fight Sports with Charlie Jewett from sogokaku.com. Let's begin. Hi, Charlie.
Hey, Shu, how you doing?
Good. So, hey, I'm trying to do this every couple of weeks now, right?
Yeah. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. So, we got to talk about the Super RIZIN 3.
Of course.
And you actually didn't go, like you just told me that you watched it from home. And
yeah, my wife had some friends over. We thought it'd just be more fun to watch it at home because.
Oh, so you had the home party.
Yeah, a little party, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's good, yeah. And I think it's like all the interested in Hiramoto versus Asakura.
Oh, absolutely. That was the one that everyone was interested in.
You know, it
was interesting because I actually met up with some of my friends the day before the event, and these are people that don't talk about MMA, they don't talk about kickboxing, and they were like, "Oh, my boyfriend's ordering this fight tomorrow. We're all going to watch this fight." It's like even people that didn't watch MMA were all watching this. People were talking about it that I never hear talk about combat sports.
So you know what? It's kind of not amazing, but I think it proves that we're in a different era in a sense that both Mikuru and Ren are not the product of a Japanese national televisions. You know,
No.
They're not on TBS, Channel 4, Nippon TV, or, the TV Asahi, all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, so they're really a product of social media, basically. Right. And they're big enough to, sell 48,000 seats. And ticket prices are very high, right? So
they were extremely high. It sold out almost immediately. They had to re-release seats that you essentially weren't even able to see the fight from. People wanted to be there, to be a part of the environment. And it was actually getting so much attention that I got curious, was actually looking into the Google Trends and some of the analytics for the event. This event had the highest Google trend in RIZIN's history. And it wasn't even close. In Japan and globally, this is by far the most event that generated the most interest. And I think it was 30 points higher or something. It was a massive percent higher than the second highest search thing.
I'm surprised you say it's globally because, face it, Asakura and Hiramoto is not necessarily the biggest name in the world stage. So
right, but I think that the thing is that even globally, if you're interested in RIZIN, those were the people you were interested in.
I see, right.
And also is interesting. It was Ren's biggest event too. Ren's peaking. This is the highest his popularity's ever been. More people are searching him now than ever.
Right.
And both these guys Mikuru was actually, his peak was the Mayweather around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually been kind of going down. But still, this event generated so much interest in Japan. They were doing all sorts of advertising. They had taxis with them on it. They were doing stuff in train stations. They were plastering them. They were doing commercials. Unlike the match, which you and I both discussed, was actually kind of barely promoted, they did put a lot of effort into promoting this, and it paid off. It got huge results.
That was my second question. Compared to the match, do you think match meaning, Nasukawa versus Takeru, happened on Tokyo Dome? It was 50,000 people, so it's almost the same number of attendance.
I think if you would
I will find out the review by soon, but
Well, I think if you would have put this in the Tokyo Dome, it would have sold out the Tokyo Dome.
Probably, yes.
Yeah. So the match, it's so hard to compare because the match had so many weird things happen right before it, where this had the opposite. This had everything going for it. Everything was going well. Interest in this event couldn't have been higher. And it was actually, it's very difficult to compare because the match was kind of the accumulation of Takeru, who'd been fighting in K1 for years.
Yeah.
It was decades of promotion essentially.
Yeah,
whereas
exactly.
This was a more recent, both these guys are still in the prime of their careers and their popularity is still soaring. So it's kind of hard to compare.
Oh yeah. And according to oddsmaker, whatever, and Mikuru was a heavy favorite, but I was pretty surprised about that actually.
I'm wondering if that's just because so many people were. I mean, sports gambling is illegal in Japan, but I don't know. Maybe that's kind of crazy to me because when I was watching the fight, especially, I was like, if Mikuru doesn't try to get this to the ground, he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Big trouble. I mean, shouldn't have said this, but I will say it. I haven't said that yet, but anyway, I saw their weigh-ins, like a face-off, and not TV ceremonial weigh-ins. You know how Ren was like just staring at him, won't move anything, but Mikuru was jumping around doing a little bit of a footwork, kind of stuff, and it seems like Mikuru was not 100% sure what he has to do to win. But on the other side of the coin, like Ren knew what he has to do to win. You know what I mean? So that's a big difference.
Yeah, because Mikuru has kind of always been this brawler. I mean, a brawler is not the correct term, but like a slugger. He hits hard, but he's not the most technical striker. Which, against Ren, whose chin is granite and who's a former K1 guy, that was just never going to work.
Right. And, well, I can tell you this right now. When I saw him in Ireland, a couple of months ago, he was already saying that, I'm pretty sure I can avoid getting taken down. I'm, confident about takedown defense. And if he shoots, I'll, get on the top position, maybe drop a couple of pounds, and I'll stand up very fast and force the stand-up fights. And, he's a K1 fighter in terms of striking, skills, obviously. Who has more, superior, right? Who's more superior. And the fact is that Mikuru is a counter puncher. He doesn't really initiate the move. So, and that's the problem too,
Well, even then, like his technical skill was never going to be on par with Ren's when it comes to just pure striking.
No. And the fact that Mayweather and Miyama knocked him out with the two, striking to the head. And like I always said on this, that, if you get knocked out on striking to the head, I always tell my clients to, you might want to think about taking ear off, like not even train for 3 weeks, 3 years. I mean, 3 months. I'm sorry, and don't spar for like 6 months, whatever that is. But I guess that's not the case for him, right? So
yeah, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but like there's all this talk about whether Mikuru is going to retire and whatever. My thought is because of his string of KO losses recently, no matter what he decides to do, he should take a significant period of time off. And just make sure his head's okay, get back to 100%. Plus, the fans will always be there. If he comes back in a year and a half, I think the fans will just be as excited to see him then.
Yeah.
Not more so.
Right. I don't think he should retire, No, he can
absolutely not. No.
For the big money fights. That's it. Just don't be like so-called regular RIZIN fighters and try to climb the ladder kind of stuff. He doesn't need to do that,
No, Shingo is a good matchmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And Shingo will find guys of his level where it'll be a good match for him.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't need to be going up and fighting for the title. He should just be doing his own thing. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's what it should be. And, but I think from what I heard, because obviously I didn't go to the show, but still there were way more fans cheering for Mikuru. Yeah. And
I heard some rumors that there was an issue that they had to stop that Mikuru fans were actually starting to buy tickets in the Ren fan section.
I see. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
So they had to like they were worried about like a fight breaking out or something. So
and I did hear, when Mikuru lost, there were some fans who were throwing stuff, and I even heard, I didn't see this, but I even heard that there's a person, the fan of the fan, was so sick that started puking. So
I heard that like did Michael Chiavallo like say in the commentary that like people were crying around him?
Oh yeah, I bet.
You like see people visibly like crying. I mean, I think people were stunned because it was kind of like very reminiscent of when he lost to Vugar, where it was like he wasn't able to do anything offensively. He just went out there and got knocked out.
Yeah,
and I think
he could have done nothing. Yeah,
people would have been okay with him losing if he had like put up a good fight at least. Where this is just him getting smashed.
Yeah, totally right.
Yeah,
Now, besides this fight, which fight?
Wait, I want to ask you one. I want to bring up. I don't think a lot of our foreign fans, non-Japanese fans, will be aware of this. Have you
Okay.
heard about this national anthem thing that went down?
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny. Like, is that something Mikuru say he doesn't need it or something like that?
Well,
Or
because I think there was a thing where Sakakibara said one of the reasons he wanted to do the title is because he wanted there to be a national anthem and to like make a big deal out of the fight, which is kind of funny because then they got this guy from the popular like boy group like Journeys
Mhm.
set to sing it, and then it turns out that all of Ren's and Mikuru's fans like don't like boy bands and started like talking shit on social media like we don't want this guy singing the national anthem. And then Ren and Mikuru were like, we don't want we don't care about the national anthem. We just want to get in the ring and fight. I think especially Mikuru didn't want to wait around the ring. He wanted to like go in there and fight. And then this guy had to like come out and be like, I'm sorry, I withdraw my offer to sing the national anthem.
That's so funny. I mean, all these social media scuffles, I don't really get into it. I let, whatever everybody wants. I mean, in the last 4 years, I only probably told him, oh, this one is not good, so you got to delete it like twice at most. You know what I mean? Like, he has total freedom. So, and it's so funny that he skipped photo sessions, right? On day before wins. He didn't show up and it became articles about it. Yeah, it's so funny. I can do this right now that I had the sense that he might skip it. So I was talking to him like, dude, you better tell me if you're gonna skip it so we can plan it, right?
Yeah.
So it was. What happened was this: he was originally scheduled to do this at 2:40, and he wanted to come in early. So we made photographer everybody come in early, just 30 minutes early, just for him. So 9:30 a.m. he was supposed to be.
Was it Sachiko? Was that the photographer?
Yeah, photo session plus the interview on the stage, whatever, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, everybody came in 30 minutes early, and I waited here to make sure if he gets there. So 10:30, 11:30, nobody calls me. So I'm like, all right, I think he showed up. So I went to bed to take a couple hours of sleep. I wake up, there's tons of messages on my phone. And I see articles out that he's missing, and I called him immediately. I got him on touch with him in 1 minute. So like, you know, and at the end of the day, he was like, "Hey, I will not miss weigh-ins. I will not miss the opening ceremony. I'll be at and all the others thing. Okay, maybe I missed it. I'm sorry, but I think it became a bigger news and a good promotion for the event."
I'm saying RIZIN probably is happy they got all the free press.
Yeah, exactly. It's all free press, right? So
well,
yeah,
I
and
just
it's
thought it was. I just
tell
thought it
you
was
this.
funny that Sakakibara wanted to do this whole national anthem thing. I'm like, do you not know who their fans are? Their fans like couldn't care less about that type of thing. These aren't
Exactly. You know
old
what?
people, old boxing fans. These are young.
If they were gonna bring in a national anthem singer, they would have to bring in somebody so big that both
Yeah.
Ren and Mikuru won't say jack shit about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really, like
which
something.
isn't going to be a guy from a retired boy band.
No. You really have to be somebody like a Bees or Misha or Southern All Stars or Yaza or somebody like that who would be like, all right, here you go, kind of stuff. But anyway, I'll tell you this one more thing. This is the show. You could imagine. I always get a calls requesting a comp tickets. Oh my god, so many people call me in the last minute looking for comp tickets, and I always have to say no this time. No.
That's an insane ask.
No, exactly. But some of them then end up saying like, "I'm willing to buy it." So point is this, but it was all sold out, right? But any kind of event, if you wait till the night before or on that day, there's always a leftover here and there, and that thing is going so fast. Everybody bought it,
Well, because some people may not know when they say sold out, it doesn't necessarily mean it's completely sold out, but there might be the occasional like awkward one seat between two groups or something.
It's one seat, single seats. It's actually kind of easy to find. There's always some cancel something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. The problem is if you look for 3 or 5 or 7 seats together, kind of stuff. That's the hardest. All
right. We got a question from the We Are Rising podcast. They want to know what is the biggest fight RIZIN can make after Mikuru versus Ren. I don't know. I don't know if they can make a bigger fight than this fight at the moment.
Right, and also
realistically,
exactly. But also, I think you got to give RIZIN a chance to maybe build another talent to go up against Ren or go up against winner of Sucho and Inaoki, or winner of Gustavo and Satoshi, whatever that is, right? I mean,
Well, this is just this is kind of like the match in the sense that it's hard to replicate the popularity of both of the fighters going into this. And so Rising's going to need some time, or there's going to need to be some time for another fighter to do what Ren and Mikuru did and promote themselves. But there needs to be a little bit of time for someone else to emerge, I think.
Oh yeah, exactly. So,
because I mean, Suzuki is winning a bunch of fights, Chihiro Suzuki, but I just don't think he has the charisma or like the he just doesn't have that X factor that's drawn in the non-fight fans like Ren and Mikuru have.
it's true. Yeah. But again, I mean, I think time will tell, but the Rising will create another star down the road. They will do kinds of stuff, and I think bringing in Ryan Garcia, is another step towards something. I don't know if it's
so funny.
I know
that was such a funny thing they did. Like,
I'll tell you this. How me and Shingo communicates, obviously, and he tells me like, "Oh, Mayweather was such a headache," and he was jokingly saying that if you're bringing in Mayweather next time, I want like $1 million bonus. And I always tell him like, "Oh, you gotta get us for $1 million bonus to Sakibara." Now he tells me Ryan Garcia may be the worst. He's like, yeah.
Dude, Ryan Garcia showed up looking like a Ninja Turtles villain from the '90s. He had like that trench coat on, like he was gonna flash somebody in the crowd. It looked wild.
Yeah, and the funny thing is this: the Shingo is so busy attending Mr. Garcia that even 2 days after the fight, we had to talk. I wanted to talk to him about the decisions of Makoto versus Ogikubo. So I told him, "What do you think about the fight?" He's like, "Well, I've been so swamped with Ryan Garcia. I haven't even seen the fight yet." So the match maker couldn't find the time to see the actual fight. That's how, I guess. So how Mayweather asked for like 50 Kentucky Fried Chickens and all kinds of stuff in last minute, then maybe even more, right?
Well, I just think it's funny because Garcia literally has like no other options. He's essentially not able to fight in the U.S.
Right, Ryan Garcia is a scandal and arrest waiting to happen.
Oh no, like my wife and her friends were like, "Oh, who's that guy?" And I was like, "You don't want to know." I was like, "You don't want to know the details about why he's over here."
But obviously, they're looking to match him against Ampo, probably, right? It looks like.
Right, but I'm just like, he's made comments in the past that shouldn't be repeated.
But I think it's going to happen, right? It seems like, even New Year's Eve.
Well, they didn't show it on TV, but Shingo did his best to translate it. When he was in the ring and they were setting up the Ampo fight, did you see Kimura like charge the ring? They didn't show it on TV. You just saw, I think he must have ripped his shirt off or something because you just see like a naked arm. And I think Ampo said, "You two should fight. You both dope," or something. And Shingo made sure to translate that into English, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like, I don't know how much they paid to Pacquiao this time. I don't know how much they'll pay to Ryan Garcia, but I think it's fair to admit, since Jake Paul brothers and Rising's Mayweather, it seems like those exhibitions are kind of in trend, right? I mean,
well, especially after the Manny Pacquiao one, because Ampo actually looked pretty good in it.
Yeah,
Manny Pacquiao looked like shit. So
well, I mean, when he took off his shirt off, we could kind of tell he wasn't working out so much.
When he took his shirt off, I looked immediately to my wife and her friends, and I was like, "I don't think Manny's been training."
Oh yeah, no, that's too bad. There you go. Was Manny easy to work with as opposed to Florida and Garcia? I have no idea. I haven't asked, but if I get zero complaining from Rising staff.
Yeah,
so
if I had to guess,
Manny super nice.
If I had to guess, he's been way easier because he's showed up to events to promote it.
Everything.
And yeah.
Like open workout stuff, right? Media workout. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, he at least shows up to stuff, whereas I think Manny was always super late. Not Manny, I mean Mayweather was super late. Kind of do whatever he wanted to do.
So I guess in that sense, what's so funny? I want to talk about this one because Ogikubo versus Shinryu.
I mean, Ryan Garcia's favorite fight.
now, what do you think about this fight? I want to hear your opinion first.
I mean, I think it's at the point now where Ogikubo's go-to strategy, like if he's able to do what he wants to do, it's not going to be a very exciting fight.
Oh yeah.
So I
But
think
that's the game plan. Close the guard. I mean, this is 2024. You
right.
know, how many fighters really use closed guard completely for that long, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. Yeah, what do you think about the decisions?
So I just think because so taking a step back and doing a bird's eye view of this entire event,
Mm-hmm.
before this fight, it was dynamite.
Oh, I
Like
bet. Yeah, right.
it was
Exactly. It was
just
good fights, right?
knockouts, crazy dramatic knockouts. Even the decisions were exciting. And then Ogikubo just like put the foot on the brake and ground everything to a halt. And I think this fight also just kind of comes down to the scoring,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is hilarious because to go back to the Mikuru versus Ren, they were like coming up with an even more complicated, crazy scoring system for that fight.
Right.
And I was like, I like the RIZIN total scoring system,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't make sense. It seems to be applied very differently between fights. And because now that the referees are kind of releasing this, how they scored the
Right.
scores,
I saw that. Right. General
you look
shit where that made
you
a
look
difference.
at it, you're just like, so unless you almost kill somebody, there's no damage, and unless you're like nonstop going forward, there's no aggression. So it seems to always come down to generalship,
Mm-hmm.
which seems like a very strange way to score fights, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It also seems incredibly vague. So
Now, what exactly is quote unquote generalship in Rising Rules?
I used to have it written down.
True.
It's control, but it's so hard to tell who's controlling a fight
Right.
because if you have a guy, for example, if you have a guy who's good off his back, on his back, he wants to be there. So, like, who's really
So
controlling that situation?
that's my. I was just gonna ask if you're a closed guard and on the bottom, is that he's controlling the fight, right? Even though he's on the bottom.
Yeah, because I mean, there's plenty of Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys or grapplers that are like, this is where I want to be. I would love to be on my back right now.
Sure. Right.
And I'll pull guard to get there. So, when generalship, it's kind of seems like it might be antiquated because it kind of goes back to like if you're on top, you're winning, which isn't necessarily true.
That is not. I agree. Right. Yeah. But you know what's so funny? God, how many years ago is that? There was a long time ago, maybe even 15 years ago or so, when there's a Japanese fighter named Yoshiyuki Yoshida was scheduled to fight in UFC against Kyle Parisian. And the fight got canceled on the very last minute. So me, Yoshida, sat on the cage side and watched that entire event.
Okay.
And next to us was a Randy Couture. And he was very nice, and he was like being a commentary for us. He was explaining to me, he was suggesting Yoshida what to do, blah blah blah. The one thing he was saying back then already was say like, no close guard. Close guard is not for the MMA. You're not gonna attack. You're not gonna do anything. You know. He explained to me that close guard is not the way to go. So
Right.
anyway, obviously Shinryu believes he won that fight. You know, but I always felt that if fight is that close, why don't you just give them a draw?
Yeah, I'm looking at the breakdown. I don't really trust those CompuStat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It looks incredibly close.
It
Well,
does.
it's also. Do you think? My opinion is that Japanese MMA, especially like in deep when they were doing 2-round fights, had this whole problem where they used to have draws all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So now I think referees in Japan, especially, are like trying really hard to like not do draws, which kind of leads to weird results like this. Because under the RIZIN scoring system, I don't know if you could say one person damaged one more than the other, one was more aggressive, or one out generaled the others. This fight especially seems very subjective.
Right. So I think it's okay still to be draw because it was that close. But anyway, I wanted to get into the story about Shinryu after the fight. Of course, he called me immediate from the dressing room. Immediately asking me to try to talk to J Mark or Ryzen to file the claim and try to overturn the decision. And I immediately explained to him, like, you are not going to overturn this decision. There's no decisive reason to do so. It's not like you got headbutt and got knocked out and they missed that. so
Right.
so I actually suggested him go to this post-fight interview and just tell him you didn't lose the fight. Tell him the judges are bogus. I want a rematch immediately. All kinds of just express your anger. Do it, right? So what did he do? He became a little real nice boy. In the post-fight interview, he just said like I couldn't swallow it. That's it. He didn't say nothing more. So I got on the phone with him again so I could do it. Why he didn't say anything? And you know what's his reaction was so funny that, well, if I complain about the judges, maybe RIZIN won't like it. They will set me on the deck for a month and I couldn't get a next fight. I'm like, listen, what are you, a salary man? Think about it. Who threw the pet water bottle at Suzuki after the fight? Complaining about judges' decision versus throwing the water ball, which is good, which is bad, right? I tried to explain to him all of that, but the Shinryu is just, he wants to be like good boy,
I feel like if you say something interesting and get news generated, the RIZIN especially just doesn't care. Like, yeah, you generated news. Good job.
Exactly. That's what exact. I even tell him, Foz, look at this guy like Kimura, who get busted for steroid, but still arrogant about it and making a news and getting fights.
Just point at Ryan Garcia in the back. Like, hey, this guy's about to get an offer here. I don't think you have to worry about being a good boy.
Exactly right. So that's why it's to compare to you complaining about judges. What Mayweather did or Ren did or whatever that is nothing.
I'm looking at the stats now. If you look at the stats, it's kind of crazy. It seems like he, outside of the second round, kind of outdid Ogikubo and everything.
Right. It says I saw J-Muck was going to have a video meeting of this fight, specifically to give their reasonings. Yeah, go ahead, but they're not going to overturn it. I even talked to the corner man. They all call me. But here's what it is, though. You have to go for finish. And apparently, the corner man did suggest that he's winning the fight, so don't worry. But that's not really the way to go, right?
If you're a cornerman, I feel like you can give that kind of advice under a unified scoring system. But under RIZIN's rule system, especially, I feel like that's not awful advice. Like, that is not the good advice.
Right, exactly. Just like from the prior days, it's face it. If you win the third round, there's a big possibility you can flip everything around,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's the one you have to gear up. You got to take a little chance and do something more impressive to the judges, right?
Well, I just don't know, because I remember I had a lunch once with Spike Carlisle after one of his fights, and I was talking to him about the scoring system, and it became very clear to me that he didn't 100% understand RIZIN's scoring system.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I just don't know how good of a. I know that they have some sheet they hand them, but I think a lot of the fighters probably don't understand how the scoring works. You'd be surprised how many people you hear talking about it, like he won the second and third round. And I have to remind these people, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
They aren't scoring this based off the rounds.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, I guess you have to think about those, cycle kicks and those little different from the unified rules. But other than that, I always tell my clients who fights in RIZIN that it's total scoring. So you either go for finish or make sure win the last round, because that's going to get you, a high possibility to win that fight.
They always, I feel like, even if they don't officially say so, I feel like they always give more weight to who finishes the fight the strongest.
Always, yeah. And yeah, there's another opinion here that, well, how about having an extra round in MMA?
No, because what happened is in shoot boxing and kickboxing, promotions that had the extra round, the judges became lazy and didn't want to pick winners because they knew they could just go to an extra round. So it just led to a ton of extra rounds because the judges didn't want to pick.
Right.
So I'm against extra rounds. Plus, it ruins fighters' preparation. If they have to all of a sudden fight an extra round, that completely changes their strategy probably going into the last round. Because I shouldn't go for the finish right now, because if I don't get it, there's going to be another round and then I'll be screwed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just not a fan of the extra round.
Well, so in that sense, I think Ogikubo versus Shinryu, there's no clear winner. So I guess if the judge chose an Ogikubo, the only thing Shinryu can do is try to pressure him, to try to accept the rematch. Although Ogikubo already said that he wants to take a long break. Shinryu wants to fight quickly. So I have a feeling that he will end up fighting some tough non-Japanese that Shin's going to bring in,
That's
to
cool.
stir up flyweight division a little bit
Yeah,
more.
because I mean, if Ogikubo takes a long break, then Shinryu, this fight kind of got buried on this event.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he got murdered, so I don't think this sets his career back any.
Yeah,
If they bring
exactly.
over a foreign guy and he beats him, all of a sudden he's probably more highly regarded than Ogikubo, who's taking a long break.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me tell you this one last thing about this fight. The guys who is in my age, 50s or 40s, they describe this Ogikubo Shinryu fight as like, old days when artists come up with the album, there's that side A, side
Mhm.
B. There's always sometime on the side B side is one slow ballad that, that gives you a little difference, a little taste into the entire album. So
Yeah.
if you see the whole event like that kind of a concept, this is a fight something you needed it. A lot of people told me that, Yeah.
I think it would have been a fine fight, but just based off of everything that came before it, it kind of just gets buried.
Right.
Yeah.
No, everything else was very good. And I mean, what did you think about this female fight, Rena versus Kate Lotus? Because
It was awesome.
right, but
I
what's
loved it.
happened after this, right, with the Rising's
Okay.
female division? Because
So I have some thoughts on this fight. I was doing a little bit of digging,
mm-hmm.
and while Rena won the fight, Kate Lotus came up huge. She fought a tough fight,
Mm-hmm.
and people in Japan love it when you gambare,
Sure.
when you try your best,
Yeah.
and when you go down with your guns blazing. People love that, and that's the best way to get fans, because if you're a cute girl that's fighting, there's going to be a contingent of fans that think you're just a cute girl that's not skilled.
Mm-hmm.
And by going out like a badass, all of a sudden those people also respect her. And I was looking at her social media. So I rank the social media every year. Her social media has exploded this year because of this fight.
Right.
It's gone up like 92,000 followers.
Well, she does
And
YouTube channels too, right? I feel like I saw her
she does TikTok and Instagram.
doing some cooking.
I think she does do a cooking thing on
Like that,
YouTube.
right? Yeah.
But I mean, on the night of this fight and the following day, she gained as many followers as Seika Izawa has.
All right, so you think this fight kind of saved the super atomweight divisions and the Rising's women's division? Because I tell you this right, when this fight happens, like it's like this, but I get so much text.
I don't think it saves it. I don't think it
from
saves it.
female fighters,
I don't think it saves it at all. I think it highlights how bad of a state it's in.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the VTR of the fight, the lead up, Rena said that women's MMA isn't blooming in Rising. It's not prospering.
Right.
And for some reason, I mean, Seika Izawa is a very talented fighter. That's without question. She's very skilled, but she just doesn't have that 2016 Rena had charisma factor. And I think also, I mean, I don't know if she's like overcoached or she's trying too hard, but when Seiki Izawa, they brought her up to announce her fight with Kana Asakura, when she took the mic and then asked Kana Asakura a question about why she's retiring
Mm-hmm.
and like went off script,
Yeah, I know.
I think it upset people. They were like, who are you to like pull the mic out and ask this girl that's retiring why she's retiring? It's kind of a strange thing to do. And I think that contrast with Kate Lotus, who isn't the most skilled fighter, she tries really hard, but I mean, she has close to a 500 record. But her popularity skyrocketed. It's just she has the charisma, she just needs the skill. So it's almost like Seika Izawa and her are almost opposites in what they bring to the table. But I think it does show that like women's MMA fans are there. Rising just needs to find the right type of fighter to build the division around. And Seika Izawa and Siwoo Park are just kind of charisma vacuums.
Yeah, I mean, face it. At this point, in terms of ability of an MMA fighter, Izawa is a couple notches,
light
above
years above everyone else in Japan at the moment.
or Rena or Kan Asakura, and I guess Asakura is retiring right after the next fight.
Well, I think this has kind of been like a prolonged retirement. I feel like her heart hasn't been in it for a long time.
No, I will say this, but don't criticize me. Or don't. I'm telling the listeners this, but when I saw Kan Asakura in the ring, I've noticed one thing: her eye looks different.
Oh, do you think she had cosmetic surgery?
More than the single lid, right? And I felt the senses that she may be in a relationship. Like.
Well, I think that's what. So, I think that's what Seika Izawa was like trying to tease her about or something.
Oh, is that, yeah, okay.
Well, she's like, "Well, what's the reason you're retiring?" And like, Kan Asakura turned a bright red.
Oh, okay.
And so I think that might be the thing because she always did say she wants to retire and start a family.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not thinking about her, but I kind of guessed. I sensed that she became more of a woman. You know what I mean? Compared to like a, so.
Yeah. But I'm sure the reason will eventually surface. But I mean, she essentially no longer does YouTube content. I think she really wants to kind of step away from the public eye and just kind of retire to private life, which I mean, she's earned it. She's been fighting for a long time. But back to the Rena Kate Lotus fight, I think it was kind of because this fight brought a lot of people into it because of Miku and Ren, who aren't necessarily hardcore MMA fans.
Right.
And so a brawl like this, I think, is going to go really well because it's exciting for anybody to watch. Like anybody could appreciate it. And one thing I did notice, though, was that, well, first off, like, Rena has been training a lot at Tiger Muay Thai, so she had, like, the logo on her outfit, actually.
Sure.
But she messed up her left eye. Like, her left eye was almost swollen completely shut. Back in 2022, she actually broke the orbital bone there. That's why she had to step out of her fight with Izawa.
Right.
She actually injured it, broke it before in shoot boxing. So I'm wondering if, like, I'm kind of worried because I noticed she's been wearing sunglasses in all of her S&S pictures. So I'm worried if she like messed up her orbital bone again. So hopefully that doesn't happen because I want to see her fight Izawa. But.
Right. Because now, I mean, they have to set up another girls' fight in New Year's Eve, right? And
it's also kind of weird though because now Izawa is becoming like the retirement fight. Like, why are all these girls fighting Izawa on the retirement fight? Like, I like Kan Asakura a lot, but it's kind of weird that she's fighting the champion. Why couldn't they bring somebody else over? But.
I know, but I guess the perfect scenario would be Izawa wins, Kana retires, then Izawa faces Rena in New Year's Eve, right? Probably.
It just seems like they're trying to like build up Izawa as much as possible off the names of these other fighters. But at a certain point, I mean, Kan Asakura fans aren't going to like watching Kan Asakura get beat up in her last fight. I don't think it's going to translate over to Izawa fans, but who knows?
But here's Charlie about this retirement fight. Have you ever seen a retirement fight of Atsuhiro Tsuboi?
Oh, that's good. Miku's husband?
Miki, Mikumoto? Or
Miku's husband, right?
Yes, Miku's husband.
Yeah.
He faced Hiroyuki Abe for a retirement fight. And you know what Hiroyuki Abe did? He beat the shit out of him. Cycle with him. Like, I just went all out. And that was the way to show respect. It's the Japanese way. I'm telling you right now, guys, who's listening, you should search on YouTube. We can still find that fight. It's a great fight. He goes out and like just kills him.
It's the same with like Megumi Fuji fought Miku in Miku's retirement exhibition fight, which was, for all intents and purposes, a real fight until the last 10 seconds. But I understand like going full throttle. I just don't know why Kan Asakura's last opponent is almost like a guaranteed. It's like a snuff film. Like, we don't need to watch Kan Asakura get murdered in her last fight.
I know I like Kana too, so that's too bad, right? I mean, but I guess
there's enough atomweights. Why don't they bring some foreign girls over for Izawa to fight? I just don't get it.
I don't know. But yeah, so let's talk about this RIZIN 48 then. Is there any fight that you're really excited about?
Let's scroll over real quick.
That's,
I mean,
Satoshi, Gustavo. Now
all the fights they announced are interesting. I mean, Sosa versus Gustavo is going to be big. Inoue versus Kim is going to be big. I mean, I had a question about that. Doesn't Kim have a fight scheduled for like the end of August in Korea?
Well, I think that one got scratched.
Okay, because I saw some like one posting. He was
No,
like fighting for like Road FC at the end of the month.
Yeah, because he's still with Road FC. So, Rising had to negotiate the deal with them. And also, we tried to make this fight happen in Super Rising 3, but because of Kim's schedule, it wasn't possible. And also, considering Naoki's branding, maybe it's better to fight in a better position in the show in September than
Oh yeah.
with one of the other fights. So, yeah, that's how we decided it. So,
Well, in hindsight, it's the perfect decision because I mean, the way that Super Rising went down, it'd be so easy to just get buried in the results of that. There's so many crazy knockouts
sure.
that the bar to clear was just so high that by putting him on this event, he becomes the focus, one of the focal points of the whole event.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's a title fight, so that's always great.
Yeah. I mean, finally he got to the title fight, and this is a fight he has to win to sort of like to ease that loss of Archuleta fight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
Kim's going to be a tough opponent. Kim's a tough guy.
Oh
I
yeah.
think it's going to be a good fight.
I think this is going to be a non-stop action. So I think
Yeah, because Kim never quits. His stamina is ridiculous.
exactly, and always pretty aggressive. Naoki goes forward all the time. So
I noticed some of the girls that my party noticed that Naoki Inoue looked a little cooler recently. He's come more into his own, attracting more of the female fan base.
oh yeah, I mean he's always had a very good female fan, and I'll tell you this. I won't reveal this, but there's one of the semi-okay famous actress in Japan from Japan who is living in New York right now, and she's in some of the movies that you can find on Amazon and stuff like that. But anyway, to make a long story short, she came to Cerro Longo gym and brought like food, bento, all kinds of things for Naoki. So he has a very good, solid base of a female fans out there.
Good. Hey, if there's any secret to success in Japanese combat sports, it's female fan bases. K1 knows it. Rising knows it.
Yeah, for sure. Right. So, I wanted to talk about this one.
Well, it's nice. I mean, back to the 48. It is nice to see Hagiwara popping back.
Oh yeah. I want to talk about Hagiwara too. Let's go back to Hagiwara. Now, he's like 6-8 in RIZIN, but still getting fights. I mean, what do you think? Yeah.
Reaction I saw from people at my party, people love him. Hagiwara's got diehard fans. They call him Hagi.
Right. It's a kind of amazing. And also this Yo Takagi, it's another guy who is looking pretty good, right? And I think he's a kind of good-looking, handsome man. So I have a feeling that either if the Hagiwara wins or Takagi wins, RIZIN will win because they'll have a good, handsome-looking striker, And just so you know, Ryo Takagi has been training with Naoki too. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So.
I mean, as I said, any of you said, many have said, Japanese MMA, winning is important, but it's not like the UFC where it's cut and dry. If you put on exciting fights and have a fan base, I think you'll always have a place that you can fight.
Right. Yeah, so
Hagiwara, RIZIN has to feel at least some debt of gratitude to Hagiwara because during the COVID era, he stepped up and fought all the time.
Oh, I know.
Against fighters that are way out of his league.
Because in the first 7 fights or so, he was like 5-2 in RIZIN, right?
Yeah.
But he started like losing because he was facing real tough guys.
Right.
But again, so this is a good fight, I think. Yeah, I mean, the winner of this fight be a new, I think, handsome striker of RIZIN on this division.
Well, it shows you how RIZIN thinks it's important because they put these people in the ring with the other people, with the other title fights.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the fights that RIZIN is highlighting. So they clearly see potential in these guys.
Oh, you know what? Let me tell you this story. When usually fighter gets invited, announced in the ring, do the commentary, they usually RIZIN give them a pass, credentials and also the seats. And they allow people to bring in one, people with them. So they prepare the 2 seats for them and everything like that. Whoa, not this time. They didn't even have a seat for Naoki. They gave him credential, go talk on the ring and come back, and there's no seat for you, so you can go home or hang out in the backstage.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
I did notice that Chris Lytle had a pretty sweet seat ringside.
Oh, really?
I think he was there for bare knuckle.
Oh yeah, I could see that because he does work with the bare knuckle.
And they put him right next to Caesar Takeshi, right up there in the front.
That's funny. I wonder if how many fans in this era knows who Caesar Takeshi is, right? I mean,
The old guy that says hello to Rena, maybe it's how most of them know who he is.
right, and he's from that old world of Japanese fight sports, if you know what I mean, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so I want to talk about this one because that will affect a little bit of Japanese flyweights. We can predict on what's going to happen is Mokaev.
Right.
You know, we got the news that he pissed UFC off. Apparently, the management talked to PFL while he's still on the contract or during the exclusive negotiation period. I don't know the details, but what do you think about this one?
It's kind of strange because I think you might have mentioned it previously, but even during that phase where you're still negotiating a contract, I feel like a decent manager is going to send feelers out to other promotions as well. Like maybe not official negotiations, but there's going to be some sort of communication going on.
Unofficially, yeah. I mean, think about it. If you go to the show and everybody's staying in the same hotel, and someday you go down to the hotel bar, you see a matchmaker sitting drinking beer. Yeah, you join them unofficially. You'll be like, hey, what if, right? So, as long as it's not an official approach via email or something like that, I mean, it happens all the time, you know. But here's what it is for Japanese fight sports fans: if PFL is really talking to Mokaev, that's a sign that PFL will start 125, right?
Yeah.
That means they have a Horiguchi under the contract. And my prediction is if they're going to do 125, they are not going to allow Horiguchi to fight in RIZIN. They will expect him to compete in their tournament league.
So, is it official? Do you know that his contract with Bellator was transferred over to PFL?
I think so. I mean, obviously, because all the Bellator fighters are fighting under the PFL banner, basically, right? And guys like Musashi who complain about it, PFL had a right to release him, right? So,
if they start 125, they're going to want him. Yeah.
I mean, they have to buy out all the contract. Otherwise, it makes no sense, right? So, they have a Mokaev, they have a Horiguchi. If they got a couple more, that's a pretty legit 125 tournament.
I'm just confused because wasn't Horiguchi talking about trying to get signed by the UFC?
He's
doesn't really make a lot of sense if PFL.
He's already said publicly that UFC expressed that Horiguchi. He even said something like his management and teammates and ATT couldn't believe it, and they don't know what the hell UFC is thinking, blah blah blah. So, I think they approached, and the UFC basically said no.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, here's what it is. I think age factor also, but I think this is just my opinion, but I don't think UFC likes fighters who lost to quote unquote Bellator fighters. So they have all the highlights film Sergio knocking him out, you know. Same theory goes to even my other client Naoki. He lost to Hirata. So that's a big step back, I think, in terms of getting signed by UFC. Unless you come back and do some couple big wins.
You clearly would know better than me, but I always just thought with Horiguchi especially, I mean, the UFC never seemed too keen on him. When he was during his first run and the contract negotiations came around, they kind of famously were like, he doesn't speak English and he doesn't sell tickets.
You know, that's the one thing I'm a little bit puzzled about this because, you know, he did the title fight, right, against Demetrius Johnson. Usually, when you do a title fight, they'll offer you a longer 8-fight contract, but big bump on your purse. I'm not going to say amount, but so obviously they didn't do that to Horiguchi. So I actually think maybe they did offer that to the management, but management said no. You know what I mean? Like they wanted
because the management was holding out for him to become champion.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know
the more money.
Right. And that manager at the time is no longer his manager anymore. You know?
He got white hair that has like the
Umi, yeah. So I don't know what exactly. I mean, yeah, but it's true that they say they didn't resign him because he doesn't speak English and blah blah blah. But hey, I'm telling you this very interesting story. This day and age, not being able to speak English really doesn't matter, right? I mean, look at Shohei Ohtani. And also, I'll tell you this very interesting story. I heard it from Shinsuke Nakamura in WWE. He said that when he does the promotional video kind of stuff, he's tried to speak English. But the other day, he decided to just speak Japanese and let the subtitles in. And fans' reaction was better. that way. So
Well, I mean,
the other female Japanese fighters still speaking in Kansai Ben, like screaming in
I was
Japanese.
going to say that. I've
in
seen that
English.
the Japanese girls just do their ring stuff in Japanese half the time.
Exactly. And the crowd sings Minoru Suzuki's song,
Yeah.
and the TV series like Shogun, 70% of the dialogue are Japanese, are accepted by a mass audience. So, right now at this day and age, you really can't say anything about like, oh, you don't speak English.
Well, I think Horiguchi was just a victim of bad timing because that was back when UFC was just debating folding the flyweight division anyway.
That too, exactly. And maybe the way the management negotiated, the UFC didn't like it, which comes back to this Mokaev situations that I think maybe UFC didn't like the action his management took, right? I mean,
Plus, anyone that's a fight fan has to look at Horiguchi and age aside, be like, this guy's got 1,000,000 miles on him. How many fights does he have left in the tank at a high level?
right.
And I don't think the UFC is willing to bring a guy over that and invest in it and then not get the return on their investment.
Hmm.
Guys like Suraya and Taira are young, on the up and up. So,
Right. But here's my predictions though. UFC is owned by, a public company who is, stocks are offered on New York Stock Exchange. So it's no longer Dana and Lorenzo's shop. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just like when they released John Fitch for not signing the video contract or yanking the credential from Ariel Helwani for scooping that, Brock Lesnar signing with UFC, I have a feeling somebody will talk to Dana and pursue him to change his mind, because if he keeps doing this, abruptly releasing a 7-0 fighter who is lined up for the title fight, it's going to be hard to argue that UFC is same as NFL or Major League Baseball or the other so-called major sports who treats athletes on a fair manner.
Could this be some strategic measure
Could be right
because
exactly.
of the antitrust issues?
Could be
Where they say, hey, this guy was 7-0 undefeated, free market. He went to the PFL and was offered great money. We're not dominating the market. Fighters can leave whenever they want.
right. And also I forgot the name, but remember when Khabib and Conor had a big brawl and his Khabib's corner man got released? Remember but came back right after they had to talk. So, I think there's a room for renegotiations and yeah. So, and I'm not sure. I don't know who is Mokaev's management though. I just assume that's Ali.
That's
So I'm
a
like,
safe assumption. A safe assumption.
right. But here's what it is though. But I mean, have you seen the Roku channel UFC Inc. whatever that is, that documentary, how they negotiate on Khabib's somebody's contract? Khabib's one of Khabib's fighter, and they're basically not really treating Ali like a management. Ali is like just a messenger guy, and they go over his head and they decides everything. So I'm just a little bit puzzled about who his management is and who allegedly contacted the PFL.
Yeah. It is really weird. Especially because, I don't think Ollie would be that stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, guy like that, I'm pretty sure he can make the best money for the clients in UFC. But remember, he used to be a matchmaker for World Series of Fighting, which is, before PFL. And, sometime, I know he still talk to Ray and their matchmakers, so I wouldn't be surprised, but if it's unofficial, right? So, yeah, but anyway, I really want to bring this up because that's very interesting. And I think this is going to actually determine what the other Japanese fight rates are going to do, because I don't know about how many fights Ogikubo have left on the contract. And I'll tell you this now, officially Shinryu is done with the contract, so I have to renegotiate his contract. I mean, like if PF really want to do the big push to the 125 division, I wouldn't be really surprised if they approach Ogikubo. You know what I mean?
Well, if it's the PFL kind of, it'd be almost stupid of them not to just start collecting all these other fighters, and it's like the perfect time for them to launch the division.
Right. And Ichi said the settlement with antitrust is so bad that even the judge can't accept it. To the trial we go. I mean, yeah, actually, that's a very good news for most of the
Fighters.
retired fighters who's been talking to me about this. Because they just want to get more money as possible, right? So if they wait longer to get more money, then that's fine.
Well, I mean, it's incredibly vague, but I was just reading. Sounds like Dana White said that the matchmakers don't like him for a lot of reasons, whatever that means. maybe his management's difficult to deal with behind the scenes. Who knows?
It's so funny. Ichi-san says, blink twice if one blacklisted from Japan unless they bring Rotan and Takeru. The answer would be no. Nobody gets blacklisted. Rakuten was supposedly the biggest sponsor for the upcoming
Yeah.
One Japan show, and they basically say that without Rotan and Takeru, they don't want to sponsor. So they just have to postpone it to maybe
I mean, is Takeru fighting like Black Panther now outside of Japan or something?
I don't know, right? He'll fight somebody, then he'll probably do Rotan in Japan show under the big Rakuten banner, maybe.
If one championship does another Japan show soon. Let's wait and see.
Right, and
Yeah, but this will be
Right
interesting because going back to what you were saying, if PFL starts because I think PFL gets attention now because Kana Watanabe is over there making a fortune. And if they get a bunch of flyweights over, they could really branch into the Japanese market.
they could, right?
But are they still on the zone?
Yeah,
That's going to be difficult because I don't know anybody that has the zone. And
right. And no, but I think PFL's on Unix now too.
okay, if they're on Unix, that's fine.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to this code when he asked me about that. Is she in some of the movies that are on Unix? Remember I just told you about the
girl that was interested in Naoki.
Actress, yeah. I can give you a big hint. Masato Sakai, one of the leading actors in Japan, and also Teruyuki Kagawa, who is now blacklisted by Entertainment in Japan. They both star in this movie, so that's a big hint. You can go and research.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think this Mokaev and Japanese flyweights. The reason I want to talk about it is because this could be something interesting for the Japanese MMA fans because they could lose some fighters from the Japanese market, and also I think a lot of fans are looking forward to see matchup like Tatsuro Taira against Mokaev.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to see that fight badly, but that's not going to happen now, right? So who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if the details will ever come to light. It'd be interesting to see why the matchmakers didn't like him.
Well, I mean, he got into some trouble, got into brawl kind of stuff like that. But that happens to many fighters who they did not release. So,
yeah. Who
so.
knows? But I wanted to, before we sign off, back to Super Rising 3.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I really want to commend Rising on, I don't know if they're responsible for this or BMO is responsible for this. I didn't listen to the English commentary. I listened to the Japanese stream. But bringing Michael Chuvalo over and having him do in-person commentary for this event was such an incredible, much-needed level up for this event. Have in-person commentary. People were seeing the clips because they show the English clips on Twitter, hearing like actual good commentary makes it so much better on every possible level.
Right, and usually they do that on the Zoom, so there's a time lag and a little sound off and stuff like that. So their commentaries are good, but the fact that they're not at the live at the venue, it just didn't really attract too many viewers, right? I mean, I see a lot of complaints, right? So that's why they brought them in, finally. But are they going to do the same thing the next show? I'm not sure.
There's lots of complaints.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end, I just want to mention this because since I'm involved in this, but like you mentioned, Abema launched this application app called Abema Live. It's for American market. You can download on the Apple.
Do you know if it was Abema or Rising that did that?
Rising. it's the RIZIN who did that, and because of, I think, it's a big show. So, but I'm not sure if they're gonna do it again. So, but the point is that I wanted to try to say was that you could download this app and you can buy the pay per view, and you can definitely hear the English commentary, which is good. And future, maybe they can offer you a feature that you have a choice to choose between Japanese or English or no commentaries, so the fans can kind of enjoy a different, point of view. And also, that app offers a free streaming of some of the pro wrestling and the past fights and on Abema. So that's something, the fans can enjoy, So, hopefully, I think it's worth to just download it and see, so you can see the past fights. Right now, they're offering a Pro Wrestling Noah that took place a week ago, a free streaming now. So if you download it, you can watch it. And I think I'm losing Charlie. I think there's something wrong with his internet. Are you back? Somebody say, talking about pay-per-view, was it really close to 500K? I'm not sure. I'm not getting any numbers, not yet. So, but 500K, if they did, that's pretty much the same as the match, right? I mean, Takeru and Tenshin. So that would be a big accomplishment if they did. If they offer Zoom commentary, I'd rather listen to Japanese commentary. I agree. So, Charlie, are you hearing me, or you having a problem with the internet? Oh. All right. So, can you hear me, Charlie? I think there's something wrong with his internet. So, but anyway, we would have to go soon. If we can't hear it, I'm gonna finish it. All right. So I think. Okay. So I'm gonna finish it up, and we'll do it again. And anyways, thank you for listening, and we'll come back in a couple
Sorry,
weeks.
my internet.
Oh, good. Your internet was a little bit off, right? So anyway, so I gotta go, and thank you for listening, and we'll come back again in 2 weeks. Okay? I'll see you guys later. Thank you.